God doesn't tell us everything. He tells us what he wants us to know. And if he doesn't want us to know, he doesn't tell us.
I guess we scared them all off last week with our talk about baptism or water. You know, the word baptize is only shown 3 times, only found 3 times in the Bible.
What version though?
Well, that's in the original. But baptize is only found 3 times. Baptism is found over and over.
But, and again, I think that the translators of the King James did a great disservice in even translating it. They should have used the word immersed, and it changes the whole picture when you use the word immersed, which of course is what it means, you know. But they weren't going to tell King James he had to be immersed.
If I can find this somewhere, give you the 3 scriptures, you'll recognize all 3 of them. Matter what I missed last week from my computer died.
Oh yeah, did you get that up and running now?
Found the power supply.
Good.
It worked at home. When I got here, it had blown up by the time I got here and wouldn't.
Did you
dead.
have to get a new cord?
Huh?
Have to get a new cord?
New.
New box, huh?
Yep. $11.
Well, that's not too bad. Of course, you don't want to drop it, do you?
Didn't seem to be too concerned about it, does he?
The verb bapto means to dip, while baptizo means to totally immerse.
But you know, there's some definitions that will say sprinkle too. And you know, the Jews did sprinkle with water in some ceremonies. So it's not hard to see how they came up with sprinkling. And I don't think it makes tinker's dam. I don't think it makes a difference.
Well,
It's the
yeah,
attitude of
that
the
was
heart,
this guy's point is,
you know.
this is, the latter verb implies total overwhelmment and commitment, but it says nothing about the medium
Yeah.
in which the mercy is immersed. And this medium is far from only water.
Yeah.
So that was the thing we brought out.
So
But-
it could be baptized in wine.
Or baptized in the Holy Spirit, or
Yeah.
baptized in fire. And so, yeah.
Or baptized in suffering.
Yep.
We
It's
don't
all,
want that.
all like, but the word baptize, is found 3 times.
Yeah.
First one is in John 13:26.
13:26. Huh. Yeah. Jesus therefore answered, "That is the one for whom I shall dip the morsel and give it to him." So when he had dipped the morsel, he took and gave it to Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot.
Isn't it interesting?
Yeah. You know, and I don't want to get down on a sidetrack, but you know, wonder if Judas is in heaven. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
We've gone
kinda
down that
bounced
rabbit
that-
trail before, but
yeah.
you know, it does every once in a while pop in your mind and wonder, you know, does God's mercy and all, and what did he believe, and you know. I don't think it would be particularly unlike God. You know,
You think God would do something like that?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's possible.
I think there's a whole lot of people in heaven that would do
Yeah.
this.
Oh, we didn't give no credit, what's like that, well,
I think there's a whole bunch of
like the,
people that the world views as evil and no way they can go to heaven and will be there.
kind of like the girl that got to heaven, and she looked around, and, St. Peter was there with her, and she was just amazed. And he says, well, what's wrong? And she says, well, here, and he's here, and all these people here. And he says, I didn't expect to see all them. And she said, but why are they staring at me? And they're surprised to see you.
Well, you know, there's some YouTube things out there that I died and I went to heaven and this preacher wasn't there and that preacher wasn't there and, you know, I saw this preacher in hell and,
Yeah.
you know, I just stay away from that kind of thing.
Oh, I
but
know.
I see it every now and then, you
No,
know.
I ain't going there. So let's look at Revelation 19:13. Now I hit these three verses, they're kinda interesting, the three pieces, places where it says baptize.
Okay, where are we on?
Revelation 19:13, I'm sorry. I probably said it wrong, but
1913.
19:13, he took a little trip.
Okay.
Oh, that was 18.
The warm rose dipped in blood, and his title was the Word of God. So the word dipped there?
Yeah, his blood, his robe was dipped in blood.
Mm-hmm.
Some places, some versions translate immersed, soaked, dripping.
The original Greek word is B-A-P-T-O, bapto.
Bapto, which means to baptize.
Yeah,
And the NASB translated both of those as dipped.
yeah.
Dipped, yep. And then the third one is John 3:16. No, that's Luke 3:16, not John. This is the scripture we started with,
You ever want to do an interesting
Luke 3:16.
study, go through the New Testament, look up all the 3:16s. You'd be amazed at what some of them say, you
Yeah,
know.
oh yeah.
Here, Luke, alright.
Before John and after Acts,
Yeah.
I mean after Mark, yeah. I don't know either.
You want NLT while he's looking?
Yeah,
John answered their question by saying, I baptize you in water, but someone is coming soon who is greater than I am, so much greater that I'm not even worthy to be his slave and untie the straps of his sandals. He will baptize you with the Holy Spirit and with fire.
NASB translates it as baptized there as well.
yeah,
Now, what is the fire?
yeah. But it's the same word, baptized, dip,
What is fire?
huh?
What is fire?
Fire.
It says in
Well, yeah, but
baptize
and the
you
end of it, I
with
mean,
fire. What does that mean?
well, and most of us would say that's the passion or fire, the,
Purification.
yeah, purification.
Well, that-
And
Okay.
purification is another study that's really interesting if you get into it. It's, a lot of people compare it with baptism and purification of water and the purification of fire. Like we talked about last night, water purifies when it runs.
Well, you know, things might be Matthew 11, but where Jesus says, "Out of the innermost being will flow rivers of living water." Proceeded with that, the Jews were having ceremony of purification, which they pour out water, and that's the setting annual ceremony that they had, and that's the setting by which he said that, you know. And so when you understand it, it puts a little bit different slant. I mean, he just didn't idly say, out of your innermost
Well-
being will flow rivers of living water.
But where did it flow out of? Where did it say it flew out of?
Your innermost being.
It was out of your belly.
Well,
That word means bowels.
yeah.
The Jewish people, most of them said that's talking about urine. The living water, purifying your body.
I don't think that
Dipping
preached in
out.
Baptist church.
I mean, go do some deep study into it.
Wow.
Of course, the interesting part about Hebrew and Greek is there are multiple
Yeah.
meanings to each word.
Yeah, but a lot of the, if you start getting into old commentaries, and it's not uncommon that it talks about the waste product, the purification of the body, that is done through the water.
Some rather vivid imagery, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it is, but yet it's not,
I mean, it's not untrue.
yeah, it's not untrue,
It fits.
it kind
in
of
some
does
ways,
make
yeah.
sense, that, that's what it's talking about. So anyway, I just wanted to, that was part of my Bible study from last week, because I couldn't remember, and I wanted to kind of run through that a little bit.
And so as I go to sleep tonight, I'll be thinking about that.
Do I even want to think about it?
No.
I can't hear that without thinking about Jason Manilang, livers of living water.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I always have to say that very carefully, because it'll
Yeah.
come out.
livers,
Livers
well,
of living
and
water.
that's part of what it was, you know, that same general idea, livers and kidneys and
Mhm.
purification of your, because your body will die
Filters, yeah.
if you don't have that function,
Yeah,
yes, that does
Mhm.
kill people.
yeah.
so you'll never read that scripture the same again.
Lord, filter me.
Use that the next time you're ministering to somebody at the altar, right? Okay, moving on to a new subject. The place of wealth in faith. I don't know why I got there, but it was something that came up, and so I began to look in some of that. Some really interesting Old Testament scripture, and then we have the saying that he's going to transfer the wealth of the wicked to the righteous.
Mhm.
Place of wealth.
What does the Bible have to say about riches and wealth and,
The only thing that comes to mind is blessed to be a blessing.
yep,
You don't get to get, you get to give.
yep.
Well,
Another one,
and
when,
the neat part about that is that the more you give, the more you get. You know, Lynn and I have given away clothes before, and we always find great sales, you know. I mean, pennies on dollars type things, you know.
and, you know, you reap what you sow, that's a function that we live in.
Yeah.
But, you know, in my lifetime, I have discovered that very seldom do you reciprocate with the person that you
Oh, no, yeah, it's
receive from.
Right.
different, yeah,
It's not
no,
a direct relationship.
Right.
yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. So, let's read some Bible. What about, let's look at,
Radical idea.
I know, every week it's a, let's go to a great, I'm really getting into these great books. Let's try Ecclesiastes this week. It's right up there with Lamentations,
Yeah, I mean, so much I don't know where it is.
Jeremiah,
What chapter?
Isaiah, huh?
What chapter?
Let's go to chapter 5, verses 18 through 20.
So,
I saw somebody
where, leave it, I couldn't even find it.
say something about the book of Enoch as well.
Oh yeah, well, did you, I sent you a link to be able to download the,
Yeah, I haven't
Yeah,
done that yet.
it's been,
it's,
it's been great.
it's interesting. I'm working my way through it. And it's not in very many of the Bibles with the popular books in it. It's not even included in most of them. You pretty much have to download the annex by itself. So, did you find Ecclesiastes 5:18 through 20?
5:18 through 20. Here's what I have seen to be good and fitting, to eat, drink, and enjoy oneself in all one's labor, in which he toils under the sun, during the few years of his life which God has given him, for this is his reward. Furthermore, as for every man to whom God has given riches and wealth, he also empowered him to eat from them and to receive his reward and rejoice in his labor. This is the gift of God. For he will not often consider the years of his life, because God keeps him occupied with the gladness of his heart. That's very interesting.
In the ESV, it says with joy in his heart.
Occupied with the joy in his heart.
Yeah.
Ecclesiastes 5:18.
5:18.
The
What's your,
last
what's
three
your,
verses.
what's your New English version say?
Even so, I have noticed one thing, at least, that is good. It is good for people to eat, drink, and enjoy their work under the sun during the short life God has given them, and to accept their lot in life. And it is a good thing to receive wealth from God, and the good health to enjoy it. To enjoy your work and accept your lot in life. This is indeed a gift from God. God keeps such people so busy enjoying life that they take no time to brood over the past.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
Content with such as you have.
Yep.
Therein lies the real
Appreciate your-
challenge for some people.
But I think,
Appreciate the blessings that you've been given. Yeah.
but some people really have a problem with that part about the toil that you have done in life and be happy in it and content with, you know, 'cause a lot of people end up not being happy with their job, with their work, complain and not relax in it, and
You know, there's, in these obscure books, they're usually a jewel someplace within that, you know. Just interesting, here's one, in Ecclesiastes 3:11. God has made everything beautiful in its time, which we all have heard that before. Also, he has put eternity into man's heart, yet so that he cannot find out what God has done from the beginning to the end. But I thought it was interesting, he's put eternity
Yep.
in our hearts.
well, and you know, if you think about it, we all, I don't know anybody that has a thought of finite life,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. But there are those.
Yeah,
I've
there
talked to a few,
probably are
yeah,
some, but most of us
Yeah,
never dwell on the idea that there's a finite
Yeah.
ending, that,
what I get a little annoyed at and somewhat amused at the same time is that somebody will die, like in Hollywood, they've lived like the devil, and suddenly now their friends are promoting them into heaven. I'm thinking, probably not.
we have no way to judge or guess. But,
Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, what I'm saying.
well, I got a couple more Ecclesiastes verses that will make you think a little bit. Let's go to 2:24 through 26.
There's nothing better for a man than to eat and drink and tell himself that his labor is good. This also I have seen, that it is from the hand of God. For who can eat and who can have enjoyment without him? For to a person who is good in his sight, he has given wisdom and knowledge and joy, while to the sinner he has given the task of gathering and collecting, so that he may give to one who is good in God's sight. This too is vanity and striving after wind.
You know, if you polled 100 people, I wonder how many of them would say, yes, I believe it's intent, God's intent for me to be joyful. You know, we so get task oriented. Joy's not on that task list, you know.
Don't you think, and it just came to my mind, something I'd not entered into as I was studying and looking at this stuff. But the last 100 years, say, people probably are less content with their toil to a great degree than they were before that. Because most people, you know, they lived in a place where they grew their food, they provided themselves. What they did was a direct reflection on how they lived and how they maintained themselves. Where now, we have to work to bring in money to be able to buy the things that we think will make us content. And I think there's a relationship there to that.
Plus, the media is constantly presenting things that will make your life better. You'll enjoy more. I mean, you know,
Wow.
and kind of making you dissatisfied with where you're at unless you buy this product.
Well, isn't that the job of Madison Avenue?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know, that's, you have high-powered marketing people, and that their whole job is to make you want something you don't need, you know?
Well said.
I did a cross stitch ages ago when I was doing cross stitch. There was a picture of a flower in a pot, and it said, bloom where you're planted.
Yeah.
And I've said that to a few people. This is where you are.
Yep.
You have to be. Don't be constantly wanting more, wanting better.
Yep.
You know,
Our
live that
society
planet.
is all about keeping up with the Joneses.
Mhm.
Everybody plays the comparison game and saying that it's
Someone wants a better house, better car.
Well, you know, it doesn't say it in Galatians, this is the fruit of the Spirit, but I really believe contentment is one of those fruits, you know.
Well, is it in the Bible? Godliness with contentment is great gain?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's not listed with fruits of the Spirit.
No, I know, but that is biblical, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
you hear that preached every Sunday, right?
No.
How would be a good sermon?
Yep.
Might step on a few toes, but.
Well,
Well,
we,
and he also says that he's given us everything we need for life and godliness.
Right.
So,
but,
If you don't have it, you probably don't need it.
you know, and
it's probably
we,
the reason I don't have it.
and we sat here and talk about that, but, you know, and I was gonna bring this up later as we get into it, but if you're in a Muslim country, or any country where you're, the majority of countries where you're a minority, you know, how easy can it be content with your lot in life, with your toil, with your circumstances, with the
Well,
amount of food you have to eat, you know?
Paul said, I've learned to be content wherever I find myself.
Yeah.
And, you know, he was in places that none of us would even want to visit. So content, and he said, I've learned to be content.
That's my last scripture.
That's, you learn to be content. And I think that comes from being discontented, that you learn, you know.
Well,
You think about all the revelations that Paul gave out,
that's Philippians 4:11 and 12.
crucified with Christ. I mean, he lived those, you know, before he preached
Philippians 4,
those.
11, and 12.
Now, that's my last scripture. We'll go there and then work back up. Jim already went there. Nancy already went to my next to last scripture.
Sorry.
I said you already went to my next to last scripture.
Oh.
Y'all are good.
Well, we're trying to fill in Friday.
Yeah.
that I speak from want, for I have learned to be content in whatever circumstances I am. I know how to get along with humble means, and I also know how to live in prosperity. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of being filled and going hungry, both of having abundance and suffering need.
In our natural state, it's hard to understand that. You know, be hungry and be content. That's a difficult statement to make. You know, and especially if your kids are hungry.
And that's a different story, isn't it?
For me to be content's one thing.
Mhm.
For me, my kids abused or going without or when what, yeah. Or making poor decisions.
You know, I give you a piece of paper, you write down what you've learned.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what you really, truly learned and internalized, I imagine it'd be pretty short-lived for most of us. And, you know, I think it's quite remarkable, he said, I have learned, you know. To me, it says, I've been through a lot of crap.
Yeah.
And I have learned. I've
Yeah.
bounced off the walls, I've hit my head against the wall without any success. Finally gave up.
That's where you want it. It's in the valley most of the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
And when you can be content in the valley, mountaintop experiences are fantastic, right? You know,
But, you know, stability is being the same. We had a guy come and teach in one hospital and talked about leadership and things like that. And he showed us a graph and he said, every employee goes through this. You start your job, you're real enthusiastic. Somewhere along the line you'll hit down and go down. And then you go back up and go back down and go back up and go down. And the longer you're there, the more it becomes a straight line. You don't have any real highs, but you don't have any real lows. I worked with a guy that had been there 50 years. He was the closest thing I ever worked with that was like a straight line. And I think that's stability. You learn to kind of roll with the punches. You don't let things upset you, but you don't let things get you down, you know? And I think that's what Paul is partly saying. I've learned to be content, you know, I don't let things upset me, you know, I know God's got it, I'm content in that, you know. But I don't think it's something that, in a sense, it's not a revelation, it's something you live out and learn as you're living it out.
well, yeah. It's life experiences and,
Yeah.
and, you know, I think, and I agree with you, the more I live, the less my highs and lows,
Yeah,
you know,
I'm sure.
and live at peace. Learning to be at peace with yourself is important.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's great wisdom in Gone with the Wind. The last statement says, after all, tomorrow's another day. And that is such an important, no matter how bad today is, tomorrow's another day.
And God can work a miracle or work through me in that day in whatever way it takes, you know. But I think learning to be content, I know what it's like to be content in much. I've learned what it's been content to be in little, you know. And probably all of us have gone through that in some time or in one way or
With
another.
it, compared to the way you grew up, you live in richness.
I continue to live in richness.
Yeah, but I'm
Great
saying,
richness.
you've been on the other side, you know where you came from.
And a long time since I've had to go out in the winter time to the outhouse.
But, you know, I think part of our discontentment as a society is because of all the exposure that we have to is high pressure marketing and, oh, you've gotta have this, or you have this symptom, you have that symptom, or have you seen the latest and greatest, you gotta have this. Marketing stuff, it makes you feel like you're missing out on
Plus,
something.
you know, I use politicians, but people trying to convince you to their point of view.
Yeah.
You're not free to think for yourself. You gotta think the way I think.
It's a lot easier for me to be at peace if I'm at home when all the electronics are turned off and I'm sitting peacefully in my house. Or like when we're at the lake and there's not a bunch of people out there, you know, with the radio blaring and commercials going and all that stuff, and I can just be at peace. So that's why I like camping. You can shut all that stuff off and it's like, hey, this is all right.
They don't even have a TV in the camper.
I can deal with this, you know, this is good, this is
We-
good life right here, you know?
The TV's not even plugged in.
Good for you.
If you're inclined to, read some good literature, Paul Ellis has done several chapters in the Bible and explained them and gone in depth and all. And, they're a real blessing to read, you know, in times like that, you know, idle times, you know. It's not the kind of thing, it's not like a novel, you read one page and say, I gotta think about that, you know.
Yeah. We've read several of Paul Ellis's books.
Yeah.
I like him a lot.
I consider him a teacher and a gifted body. Of course, I know how people operate. He didn't write it all. He had a staff that helped him with that, you know. But still, good stuff.
Now, learning to be content where you're at, where I'm at. And I look back on it, you know, and I grew up without TV. TV wasn't even available in Goodland, Kansas until I was at least in junior high school. And then it was a big, tall antenna with a lot of snow.
We got my grandmother, my dad's mother, bought him a TV after he had his first heart attack. And we had one channel, CBS Wink in Fort Myers. If you didn't like that, you turned it off, you know.
So, you know, and,
Okay.
but it's like I was reading something the other day, it was like, we got up in the summertime, you get up, you do your chores, and you go play, and you came back home at dark.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it was just life, and nobody worried about it. And, you know, I was a teenager before we had indoor plumbing. We had running water, we didn't have no gutter. We
Did
didn't
you-
have a sewer. They
did you-
didn't run a sewer pipe in front of our house.
Did you learn how to hunt and shoot a gun and all?
Oh, I learned how to do most anything.
I just wonder, you know, a lot of boys, and some girls too, learn how to shoot, hunt, that kind of thing.
You know.
Fish, yeah.
First time I went out, my granddad took me out shooting.
Uh-huh.
We were riding out in the country in Kansas. I mean, the roads are there. Every mile, there's a road, both east and west and north and south. And there are section lines, and it's all laid out like that. And we were out, and we had a .22 rifle, and there was a rabbit. And so he says, shoot that rabbit. Well, and I almost hit behind it. I shot a little high, but there was another one standing out there. But you know, it was how you live life.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
you know, it just was good.
Country boy can survive, huh?
Yeah.
Country boy can't survive, you know. But it was, you know, I was a teenager. I'm sure, young teen before we had TV. And about the same time we got TV, we got indoor plumbing.
So you
When they
felt
ran
like
the
you
sewer
moved
line,
downtown.
huh?
You felt like you moved downtown.
Oh, man, we stood in line to take a shower. And we've been taking a bath every Saturday night in the tub, in the kitchen you know, and everybody, Dad was first, but we all took a shower.
When we moved to France, I was 2.5. Didn't have a tub. And we washed in front of the kitchen sink. It was cold. And finally, they got a tub brought in. Before it was installed, I'd play in the tub. And finally, it got installed upstairs. You know, and I remember that. You know.
Oh. Now usually we had running water, but it was out of a cistern in the backyard,
Uh-huh.
and that's not fun either. But, you know, but I, you know, to see that, my grandmother rode a covered wagon from Illinois to Kansas.
Wow.
And she lived long enough to see a man walk on the moon.
Yeah. Lynn's and my grandparents lived horse and buggy, men walking on the moon, you know.
You know, I think that, you think
I
about
don't know of any generation that saw more change than that generation that was born in 1900.
it was amazing, you know, the things that went through. But I, you know, I was born early enough to see a lot of that stuff, you
Yeah.
know, and, you know,
Well, not everybody's 100 years old.
I know. Someone was working hard on it. I want to keep going too. But anyway, that learn to be the secret of living in plenty and in hunger and all that. That
Well, you know, I don't know that we've said it, but part of the secret is to turn things over to the Lord
Trust in God.
and leave them at the altar. Don't pick them up when you walk away, you know, whether the altar's physical or spiritual, you know. We so often pray and do that, and then we get ready to get up and leave. We pick it up and take it with us, you know.
when I was in the 8th grade, we lived in a rented house in Denver, Lakeside, Colorado, and my bedroom was in a dugout room where the floor furnace was located at. I had the warmest bedroom in the house.
Sure is a toast.
It was a dirt floor,
Yeah.
but I had the warmest bedroom in the house. So, yeah, but those things I look back on them and, you know, I don't think about them very often, but, you know, I remember the outhouse in the wintertime though.
Do you have to chip the ice off the
Oh, well, in Kansas, don't have too much problem with ice very often. But I'll tell you, when we moved to town in 1948, when my dad bought a two-room house on it was a lot between two streets, so a pretty good sized lot. And he built, first off, he moved the house, dug a basement, dug a basement, moved the house onto the basement he dug, and then built a new house, a new room on where the house was at, so tripled the size of the house. And then when I was in junior high school, we dug a basement under that new addition, and that's where we put the bathroom. That's when we got a bathroom.
Did you throw lime into your outhouse? You know, to kill
I don't ever remember putting lime in it.
Lynn used to,
Yeah.
her grandparents used to do that.
Yeah,
Would throw lime in to cut down on the smell.
I don't
Especially
remember
in the
ever cutting
summertime.
down on the smell. But,
Did you do that?
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
yeah, but Dad planted cottonwood trees all the way around the house,
Yeah.
a lot.
And the one by the outhouse.
Yeah, one by the outhouse. Go ahead with the story.
No, it's your story.
It grew,
Grass is always greener over the septic.
oh man, that tree grew to 3 times the other ones. But it also died.
Too much moisture.
It lived its life in a hurry and it died.
Wow.
Which tells you something about an outhouse.
Well,
Gluttony, huh?
but it also will tell you, you know, you take that same thought and put it somebody that lives life hard and fast and, you know,
Yeah.
so.
You
It's-
burn your tree up, won't you?
That's
Burn it up
part-
big time.
Part
huh?
of the answer, you know, you heard the young die young, die young. That's part of the answer to that
Yeah.
question or statement, you know.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of those life examples in my life, so.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to Ecclesiastes. Let's go to 12:8. This is what we were just talking about.
Vanity of vanities, says the preacher, all is vanity.
Apply that to an outhouse and a tree, right? I mean, you know, the concept of having everything you want, all the nourishment, all the things that you want, and it's all vanity.
While we're looking at unusual chapters, you might look up Ecclesiastes 2:26. I discovered this the other day. I thought it was pretty neat. Nothing I read a lot of Ecclesiastes. For the one who pleases God, God has given wisdom, knowledge, and joy. But to the sinner, he has given the business of gathering and collecting, only to give one who pleases to God. This is also vanity and striving after the wind.
Well,
Just read
I
that
thought,
one.
I thought that, yeah, I thought that was pretty good. Ecclesiastes.
try 1:14, Ecclesiastes 1:14.
I observe everything going on under the sun, and really, it is all meaningless, like chasing the wind.
I
What
said
is wrong cannot be made right, what is missing cannot be recovered.
I might have said Ecclesiastes, I meant Lamentations.
Yeah, you were, but
But this principle.
yeah,
still
but,
clear.
you know, if you think about it, even though we work, we toil, we labor, for what purpose?
Well, first, of course, is to survive.
You know, and it's to live, to
Yeah.
have this life, but, and that's what he's saying, that, you know, we can still do everything, you can have everything, but at the end, you know, what you have is,
You know, your most satisfied days are probably the days that you worked and accomplished something worthwhile.
and probably accomplish something well for somebody else.
Yeah, yeah. Especially if you're goal oriented.
Right,
You know, the only thing worthwhile is our relationship with the Lord
yep,
and helping others to develop a relationship.
and that's what I was driving at.
Because the rest of it,
When you feel more content,
rest
when
of it
you
feels
feel the
fine.
most content,
But,
is
you know,
when you are able to help somebody else, and maybe not in a direct relationship with the Lord as much as
Right.
just finding something good that will make, you know,
yeah,
just being good to people opens the door a lot of times to share
I-
Jesus, you know.
I stopped at Aldi's before I came here this afternoon. And when I first went in, there was a lady, the black, not that makes any difference, but she walked away and she was smiling. I mean, not just, I mean, she was smiling, just like, you know, and I got through and I went to the back and checkout and she was right in front of me. And I said, "Do you always smile like that?" And she says, "I try to,"
that's awesome.
you know. I mean,
That shows you she's got something going on in the inside.
yeah, I can tell that, you know, she is very content with her life and her relationship and, you know, and as I walked out, I says, "Keep smiling."
You know,
You know?
these people that get on TV that rant and rave and rave and rant, you know, you're thinking, you don't have any happiness at all. You
No.
have no joy. It really tells you who they belong to, you know.
Yep. Oh, yeah, you can pretty much judge where a person's mind and thoughts are at.
Yeah.
whether they're self-centered or external centered or, you know. So let's try Proverbs 13:22. This is the scripture that our opening statement was based on.
13:22.
Yep.
A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, and the wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous.
Now, I've seen the first part of that. I'm still standing in line on the second part.
Well, and I think my personal opinion of that is we mix up what wealth is.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
No doubt.
we
no doubt.
there was a time in the 80s, specifically the name it and claim it walk, and you know,
Yeah.
and
Of course, there's nothing wrong with that, as long as it's in wisdom and in keeping with the guidance of God. So, I mean, you know, the Bible's filled with examples of speaking the word of faith. But that doesn't mean that you can say, I'm gonna have a Cadillac tomorrow, I'm gonna have a Cadillac. A dozen times, it doesn't make it so, you know?
yeah, well, and
And a lot of Jesus' supporters were wealthy women, right?
you know,
Yeah,
Wealth in and of itself is not a problem.
no, that's right. I don't
Yeah.
know if I ever told you about, we had a guy come to our church who had, developed a heavy equipment business. A guy named Archie Letourneau, and the year that we saw him, he gave away 90% of his income. That year, he and his wife made $4 million. That was the take-home, $4 million. So, you know, they gave away 90%, so it gives you a perspective. And I've heard of other people saying the same thing, few, not me. And, he said that God can't trust too many people with that responsibility.
or but J.C. Penney
Yeah.
gave
Yeah,
away
yeah,
90%
another
of
example.
everything he ever made.
Every example.
You know, trying to prove you can't outgive God, right? But,
Well, you know, just every once in a while, God will raise somebody like that up, you know, to be a witness in a little bit different way than
But-
what you think.
how many of us could handle it?
That's the question.
Yeah.
A
And
lot of
that's the
people that win
truth.
the lottery,
Yeah,
Most of them.
most of them, yeah.
Disaster.
A lot of them end up in bankruptcy in
Yeah.
Yeah.
a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The woman that won the biggest lottery in Florida at the time won $50 million. And she picked the numbers out of the newspaper, first 6 numbers she picked out. And it won the lottery, and she lived in a house trailer. And her people came to advise her, and they moved her into a condo. But she gave most of it into a trust fund to be given away to needy people and things like that, and developed a board that would decide who deserved that. This was years ago. That shows real wisdom. Of course, she had everything she needed. She didn't need a lot of stuff, you know, older lady.
my aunt's next door neighbor won a lottery in the late 60s, early 70s, no, early 70s. Yeah, and,
$1 million.
$1 million.
50,000 a year for 20 years.
Yeah, but she just kinda went crazy with it. She had glasses with diamonds in them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, her kids were a mess.
I-
I was like, oh, please.
I went into my boss once.
Yeah.
This was at Hiram. I said, Carol, then I won the lottery over the weekend. And she said, really? And she got this shocked look on her face, you know, because we were only about halfway through building the hospital. And I said, yeah, but I don't think $10 is gonna take us very far. I thought she was gonna roll on the floor.
I won 17 months.
You know, it's a, you know, some people can handle it and some people can't, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, you know, the thought of coming into a lot of money, I mean, you know, millions, is almost scary if you stop and think about it. You know, it really is. You'd have relatives and friends you never
Oh,
knew you
yeah.
had.
Coming
you
out
know.
of the woodwork.
You know, today you can go out to the mall, walk around, no one's gonna bother you. Suddenly then, would you be able to, you know, so,
No.
well, you probably could, but you're not sure, you know.
Yeah, I don't want to have to have a bodyguard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really, seriously. And can you trust your bodyguard? I mean, you
Right.
know, it just,
Well, yeah.
Most of us could not handle great wealth.
right.
No.
But I knew a couple in Florida when we were stationed down there, and he had borrowed money from our pastor to go get married. And, you know, they knew him that long ago. They were not just married. It was been a while. They had teenage kids, both of them. But he had invested in some real estate at an early stage in development on the Gulf Coast, and he was a millionaire. We went to their house, and they were eating McDonald's hamburgers, and they were living just like they had before they had money.
They always have,
Yeah, I mean, some of the most down-to-earth, nice people you'd ever meet in your life.
My,
You know.
my parents were friends with
Yeah.
people that were millionaires, and they had a place on the river in Fort Myers. But you go over there, we would go occasionally, have dinner with them. You could tell,
Yeah.
they were just so down to earth, you
Now,
know.
these people had a really nice house,
Yeah,
but they were eating McDonald's hamburgers out of a hamburger bag for dinner. You know, so, you know, but it was just, it was refreshing to know somebody.
Yeah.
And they were, and their kids were great. They were not spoiled. They were,
I think the real test of that is what do you do with your money?
yeah,
I think it's interesting that several artists, well-known artists, have given millions to disaster relief in Texas, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Well, let's look at Hebrews 13:5. Kind of goes along with that statement.
Don't love money. Be satisfied with what you have. For God has said, I will never fail you, I will never abandon you.
So, yep.
now, you know, that requires a spiritual perception.
It does.
You know, your wife dies and you say, well, why, God, did that happen? I mean, you know, the way God views life and circumstances isn't the way we view it, you know.
I like to pray for his best.
Yeah.
He knows best.
Yeah.
Romans,
That's one of the things that I've learned.
God knows
I
best.
don't know what's best.
I'm good at choosing the wrong way.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
I mean, for everybody, he's got a purpose, you know. You know, we had a kind of adopted son that lives in lived in the neighborhood, he died suddenly. And at his funeral, probably anywhere from 60 to 100 young people came and they got to hear the gospel preached, you know. And you could see that some of them were under conviction, and some, of course, believed, and some that cared, you know. So, but you never know, you know. You just never know. Yeah.
Kate had a friend, Kate and Aaron had a friend that was in Bible college. But, young girl, camp in somebody's backyard
Mhm.
to go to the funeral. And so many people asked us there.
Yeah.
Her loved ones, so many.
Which says to me that God's economy is not our economy.
Mhm. Well, you know, Brandon
Yeah.
was the same way. I mean, he,
Oh, yeah.
you know, he had his going home party. At least half of the people there, if not more, raised their hand to accept the Lord.
And you don't even know yet how many people he touched and influenced.
Yep.
Yeah.
To see them all in heaven,
Yep.
you know.
It's like throwing a rock into a pond that's still.
Yeah, you don't, that
Ripples
ripple.
and ripples and ripples.
Well, I've
yeah.
told this story before, but his cousin, little Tommy, came up to me at Brandon's grandmother's funeral that I was doing. And he said, Papa, I want you to know that if it hadn't been the Papa for Brandon, I wouldn't be here. I would never have made it. Not many of us have that testimony to share. So, well, let's look at Hebrews 13:5. That'll go right along with what we said.
Let your character be free from the love of money, being content with what you have, for he himself has said, I will never desert you, nor will I ever forsake you.
So how can you be content with life?
Well, the next verse says, so we can confidently say, the Lord is my helper, I will not fear. What can man do to me? So it's put in perspective, you know.
It's we can learn to be content in this life, or we can have desires that make our life miserable. Let's end with Timothy, 1 Timothy 6:6-10. It's a good one to quit with.
First Timothy 6 through 10.
6, 1 Timothy 6:6-10.
First Timothy 6. Go ahead, Ben.
Yet true godliness with contentment is itself great wealth. After all, we brought nothing with us when we came into the world, and we can't take anything with us when we leave it. So if we have enough food and clothing, let us be content. But people who long to be rich fall into temptation and are trapped by many foolish and harmful desires that plunge them into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, and some people, craving money, have wandered from the true faith and pierced themselves with many sorrows.
Now, it doesn't say that they weren't saved. It just
Nope.
said they brought a lot of sorrow on
They brought a
themselves.
lot of sorrow upon themselves. Can't we do that?
NASB has an interesting word for sorrow. They pierce themselves with many a pang.
Yep, many pangs. Yep. Take the tines of the fork and stick them in themselves and be
Uh-huh.
miserable. So, yeah,
Awesome.
so,
That's a good word.
it was an interesting thought, and it just kind of came up and wandered through today, this week.
Very good thought. It's one of, I do well when I think about it often. Because we are truly blessed.
Well, and,
Each and every one of us.
and we are. And I go look back on it, I mean, before I retired from Berean, I was making well into six figures. doing very well. Brandon got sick. I had just retired. Michelle had to quit her job. And I had to support everybody, and my 401k went to 40 nothing. And I've been living on a retirement check, Social Security retirement ever since. And we have not suffered. You know,
God is good.
He is. Not many people have been able to live as well as we have in retirement.
Yeah,
So, well, thank you all.
thank you.
Thank you. Enjoyed it. All right, we need to run by the bank and pick up stuff.
Oh, okay.
I gotta run by the store and get some Starbucks caramel iced coffee before I go home.
Okay.
Michelle said.
Ah, oh, it didn't smell.
Yeah. So, well, thank you all.
Thank you. I need to.
We are gonna dive into that book of Enoch and
Okay.
how it fits in with the rest of the Bible one night.
Sounds like a good plan.
Sounds like a controversial plan.
You ought to know by now that I kinda like those.
Yeah, I do.
Go shut the recorder off. I didn't do that last